Hey, welcome to the Huntsville Hustle Podcast. We're going to share stories of grit, growth, and greatness from Huntsville's small business scene. And my guest today, he's the head ginger at Fow Wow Designs, Jonathan Fowler. And they're known for their creativity, their unique designs, and just kind of their mission, bringing overall freshness, hometown freshness to shirtless souls. I blew it, but you can probably say, welcome to the show, Jonathan. Appreciate you coming on, man. This is probably the palest the show's ever been. So this is exciting.
Man, yeah. Well, I've got my hat on, so I think it's giving me some shade. So this is kind of, and also, I mean, we could probably, with all the technology, you can make me look tanner, right?
We need some AI tan stats, son.
No, look at that. I'm like as white as that thing back there.
I'm covering up over here like I'm out in the sun. So
Yeah.
yeah, man. Even though I blew your tagline, we're gonna get this started. So, man, what inspired you to start Fow Wow?
Oh man. Well, so I'm. You got to think back Huntsville, like back in 2011 or 12, somewhere around there. I was, I was the kid, and I mean, you're from here too, so I was the kid that said was never going to live here, right? And I was like, I'm getting out of Huntsville, I'm getting out of Alabama, and all this, and so, really, like I traveled around, I went to different places. I lived in Nashville for a while too in college, and that was my goal. Truthfully, was like to get back to Nashville. I would never go to Nashville right now. It's like not what it was like years ago. And really it's because they kind of, in my mind, they still have pieces of it, but they kind of lost their, like that heartbeat a little bit of what they are. And that's what I wanted to keep it Fow Wow here, is like make sure to remind folks that we can be unique, and different. Anyway, so I was traveled around. I was like, that was a kid that was going to live here. And then after going to different places, one of the places was Asheville, North Carolina, and I used to go there quite a bit. I did some climbing years ago, and would go to actually Chimney Rock, which is crazy because it's like it got destroyed. It's horrible, but fell in love with the way that they really supported local businesses. And so me and my now wife, Kristen Grad, and she's a ginger. I've married another ginger, so it's kind of cool. We've made 3 ginger babies. That's not what you asked. Sorry. I told you I'm a talker. So
anyway. Oh man, you got to keep it going. We are a dying breed. So y'all are keeping us alive. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I feel like I'm here to help the gingers, Anyway, so we were on a trip to Asheville one of the times, and I just remember going to this like bakery, and I can't remember the names of all these places. And while I was there, they were introducing us to other like places to go, like, oh, you should check this place out. And it was all like locals helping each other out. And they had a thing that said Love Asheville. And it was like a kind of like a book that just showed the different bakeries, microbreweries, whatever it may be, in the area. And I just found that really cool. And in the coffee shop that we went to too, I remember them having local goods there that were made locally by people, stuff you couldn't get in like, chains, stuff like that. And so I was really was motivated. And at that point too, I'd moved back to Huntsville from Auburn, and which is kind of like it wasn't what Huntsville is now. I mean, it was 2000, probably 2011, 12ish, and on the way back from Asheville, I just remember seeing local like on that sticker that I bought from Asheville. It was like Love Local Asheville. When I was looking at it, I saw the AL on local, and I was like, oh, I've been wanting to do shirts, and so I was like, I should do a shirt with like LOCAL, right? And kind of highlight the AL in it in Alabama, and then ended up designing on Post-its. Previously had been working on Post-its and designs for type 1 diabetics, because I'm type 1 diabetic. Didn't sell too many of the shirts that I did. My mom and dad, I think they bought one, and I was trying to make a kind of punny, fun thing to give back and to help other kids with type 1 diabetes understand that it can kind of be fun and make the best of it, right? And so same thing, Huntsville, Alabama, a lot of negative stuff people want to talk about or whatever, but I was like, I'm going to highlight the good of this place and highlight our local businesses. So I did a shirt that said support local, and the AL was the state, and I did a few events with that shirt. That was the one I did for the state, and then I did one for Huntsville, and so that one was called the Mustastronaut. And so I did like on a Post-it, I designed this astronaut like helmet face, and in the glasses it said Huntsville. And so I made a Huntsville shirt and a Alabama shirt, and came back and met with local businesses at that point, just little shops, and was like, hey, I have these shirts, if you're interested in selling them here, like I'm just trying to sell them. I had a full-time job, and I was like, I just want to bring something unique, because at that point too, Absolutely. Unless I somehow did miss some crannies, there was no Huntsville shirts, and no one really like giving love to Huntsville. And so I ended up selling at a place called Switch House that was in the lumberyard. A lady named Monique, super cool, had really eclectic, unique gifts that you could go there and I get there. They had, I think, I don't know if you ever had Fred bread. Fred
Oh
bread
yeah,
was there. So Monique sometimes too, like couldn't pay me, but we would like she would pay me in Fred bread. We would kind of trade, and I was like,
that's an even trade right there.
is so I think she didn't win on that, like I was getting bread, it was so good. So anyway, that's kind of how the beginning of it started. And it was really like when people knew about the few amount of people that knew about what I was doing, I'd send them over to the Switch House and a couple other like local spots. I'd go to Low Mill and do some events there. And even the old Straight to L let me come in, and I had a little event that I sold shirts at. And it was just to try to have something unique for our town and something you couldn't get in. I love, like, again, my wife, we're guilty, go to Target, whatever it may be, nothing wrong. You'll probably find me there at some points, but I was trying to find something that you couldn't find at like Target and places like that. And I think it, kind of grew a little bit that way. So I really, again, going back to your question, I wanted something unique, something that I saw in other cities that was giving love to the locals, and something that you couldn't find somewhere else. I was hoping to push foot traffic into those small businesses to help Monique out, and yeah, that's kind of why I did it. So that's why I started.
Awesome, man. I can't believe 2012. That time flies for sure. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, it was.
what was it like when those things you started seeing them kind of out in the wild around in the city? You're like, oh my gosh, there's my design. What was that first thing like?
Yeah, that was man, you know, that was all. It's always still interesting to see, and it's one of those things too where like it's it's awesome, like internally, like as a person to be like, oh, they have one of my shirts, and I usually like I kind of am hesitant, but a lot of times I'll go and be like, hey, I like that shirt. And about 10 times out of 10, no one knows that I've done those shirts, like even in the beginning to now. Um, and so it it makes me think too, because even now, like now we have, I don't know how many t-shirt companies now in Huntsville, and I think that we need that. We need different, I have nothing against other shirts places now. It's just like I think our town needs that kind of diversity. But when I have on my shirt, they're kind of unique, a little ADHD on shirt and punny. So it makes me think that when I see people wearing them, I'm like, these are my kind of people. Not that I love all, but I'm like, they get my humor. And so it's very, very cool. Also, I mean, I've had several times where I go up and I'm like, hey, like, I like that shirt. I remember being at a concert as a Jason Isbell concert years ago, and this guy had one of the ones that I'd made. Said, "I want to rock it with you," and it has the rocket part. And he was like, "Yeah, man." Like, he starts telling me about where he got the shirt from, and then the company too. And I'm like, I was like, he's telling me about the company that I own. So I never told him that it was me, but it was just it was kind of cool to see that. So, but that kind of is what it's like. It's just a cool thing. And there's so many shirts. I mean, like years down the road now, I had to do inventory like earlier, like last year, and didn't realize how many designs are out there. But I think there's just t-shirts. I was at like 185. Couldn't believe it. And those people only know like 3 or 4 shirts that I have. Sticker designs, it's way higher. So there's a lot of designs out there.
That's got to be gratifying. I mean, I was in the t-shirt game for a hot minute, and I had an Antoine Dawson shirt, and I got a picture of his sister rocking one of my shirts, and that's
Yeah.
kind of that's when I quit. That's like I can't get any better than this. But then on
Yeah.
the flip side, for my business, like we give away shirts and things like that, and then I saw one of my shirts in the thrift store. I was like, man, I made it. All
Yeah.
right,
No,
people are giving up my shirts for the thrift store. I've made it.
I was at Packers Antique. I love going to like antique shops and finding old stuff. And I used to love going to thrift stores and finding cool shirts that you couldn't find anywhere else. But now, like, there's a whole like game, like people making money off this stuff. And anyway, I was at Packers Antiques and I saw like I was in somebody put like a Strange Noises mug and like an old Huntsville logo shirt in there. And I was an antique, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, and I've made it in thrift stores too, because to be honest, uh, when I first started as a real business, like legally, it was like 2000. 17, I became an LLC. I was just kind of doing it. I was doing it legally, but like, I joined a bunch of great people. They were like really motivating me to make it larger. And we started keeping our inventory in the back of a thrift store. It was kind of a bad thing because I'd always come home with like I'd have like a bump and pull table. I was like, man, look what I found. It's amazing. And there's like only 3 bumpers on it, but I'm like, hey, this is I
You got
think
to
I
start
lost.
somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But we started in the back of Saving Way thrift store with when we were an LLC. So it was kind of a cool thing.
So, I mean, you talked about most people know about 3 or 4 year designs. Without a doubt, the most I call it the goat. Goat design. It's got to be the Whisk You Were Here. I mean, I'm over here, got my little coffee mug. You probably can't see
Yeah.
with the lighting in here. You're wearing the shirt. These
Yeah.
things are everywhere.
It's a
When
Smeed
did you
one.
realize that you designed something that really spoke to people without?
Yeah, that I was trying to think back to when I even did the shirt. I think it was like 2015 maybe. I mean my timing may be wrong. I apologize. I've got 3. I'm a girl dad, 3 kids. So if my timing's wrong, I'm sorry. Don't quote me on that. But I was, I mean, again, the whole story behind the Whisk shirt. I'd done a few Huntsville shirts. Had the mustache or not. Took a class at Low Mill, and I did one that said "Keep Huntsville Magical." That did really well, and it was a unicorn. The Saturn V was the horn on the unicorn. The blast off was like the beautiful mane, and just unique stuff, that I thought was cool. But some other people did, maybe not most people. Anyway, so I'd done these Huntsville shirts, Alabama shirts, and maybe had like 10 designs out there. I was selling at University Pickers, and so just kind of going back to the shirt, if it's okay to tell you a story about this. So I had a few friends that I went to school with. One childhood friend, they like kind of lost a battle with addiction, and so I was at one of their funerals, and I was really like the guy that spoke there was Tom Reynolds from His Way. It's like a Christ Center Men's Recovery, and I was. I'm not trying to get super faithy here, but it's just kind of it pours out of me, and I'm a pastor's kid, so I'm sorry. And if you know me, I'm a broken believer, and that's kind of the part of the story. So I was at this funeral, and I felt like listening to Tom Reynolds and talk about my friend that passed away from addiction. I was like encouraged and lifted, and I was like, man, like I know where my friend is. You know what I mean? And so, and at that point, I was sitting there, and I was like, I want to do a shirt like that's going to encourage and give back to His Way. And so I was kind of thinking about God, like Christ, and I was like, man, I should do an Egg Beater Jesus shirt. And at that point, you couldn't find Egg Beater Jesus stuff on anything. Like now it's like, ornaments and paintings and all this stuff. And so my dad's a pastor. So I was like, Dad, I'm thinking about doing a shirt with Egg Beater Jesus on it. Should I reach out to First Baptist? And he was like, nope. He was like, forgiveness is a thing. He was like, I think what you're doing, because I was going to give back to His Way. Right. And so he was like, just let them know what you're doing, but create it. Cause he was like, even if they want to do it, they're going to have to tell you, probably don't need to do this. So I ended up making probably like at the beginning around 50 to 60 like shirts. And I came up with, this is the shirt I had on. And at that point I designed this, and I sent my cousin, Matt Davis, and his brother Steven. I was like, should I put like Whisk You Were Here, or should I put he's got his beat down low, down low, down low? And they were like, go with Whisk You Were Here. Best decision I've ever been told. So thank you, Matt and Steven. Steven's at Fantasy Playhouse, Matt's at Nova Bank, so great people, locals too. So they told me to go with Whisk You Were Here. So I did, gave back the Christ Center Men's Recovery, was going out of town, took a picture of me wearing it, thumbs up, in front of Egg Beater Jesus back in 2000, again, probably 15, and put on my Facebook account. I didn't have a website. I was like, hey, I have these shirts at University Pickers. I went out of town that weekend, went camping with my wife, and I got a call like Saturday from University Pickers, and I didn't answer it, but they called back again. And I was like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey, do you have any more of those shirts? And I was like, I just dropped them off yesterday. And he was like, yeah, I know, like they're gone. Like, and I was like, what? And he was like, whatever you did, your post went viral. And at that point, I was like, I don't think I have anything. And I didn't know what viral was. I was like, I think I'm okay, diabetic. So I was like, what happened? And so I look, and like all these people were liking and sharing this picture of me, like thumbs up in front of Egg Beater Jesus, said that I was given to Christ Center Men's Recovery. In a day, basically, I sold out at University Pickers, started getting emails, messages, and it was just me at that point. It was before we became an LLC. And really I think it was a month or 2 months, we raised like $2,500 for his way. And then also that picture. And again, I'm not doing this. I'm not saying, look this is not what I did at all. This is like community shirts, right? Community did this. But that after, I think a month or two, that post had like 85,000 views and 500 shares, like all this stuff. And I had people calling from like New York, Denver, asking for the shirt. Can I get different sizes? What colors it come in? And I'm like, I don't know. Like it was kind of crazy to me, I think it's because people were like, wanted something from their hometown, and it's something that everybody talked about, but they never put it on a shirt at that point. And it was going toward a good cause. And even if don't believe, I think people truthfully want to do good, and so I had messages from people saying like, hey, I'm not a believer, but like, thanks for what you're doing. And I was like, that's cool. Like it's not me. This is the community buying these shirts, so I was kind of nervous about First Baptist, right? Especially being a broken believer, but I had a call from them probably after like a month, and they're like, hey, we like what you're doing. They gave me a certain amount. This is when I was doing coffee mugs. They're like, we need 50 mugs. And I'm like, all right. And I was like, are they going to arrest me when I get in there? They're coming after me. So they've been so good. Like Travis and John, like those folks over there are just good people. And they've had me come and tell the story about it. Because it's a cool thing. So, and again, now, man, heck, there's other t-shirts that have Egg Beater Jesus, but luckily I was able to, kind of have have the first one for sure on a shirt.
Yeah.
And luckily I didn't go with, he's got his beat down low, down low, down low.
I mean, there's still time. I mean, you can switch it up. You can do the remix. I mean, you never know when you do a Egg Beater Jesus remix, but I think you make the right choice. Yeah, I'm telling you, if you haven't seen it around town, that's on you because it's everywhere, man. That thing is everywhere. So shirts and mugs and all that good stuff. So
For sure.
that's cool. And if you guys are listening right now, look up His Way and see what they do, man. It's a great organization helping a lot of folks out there. So that's the old win-win. That's what we look for in this, right? So, and you've been around the business world for your full-time job as well as having your own business. What's something you would change in the business environment in Huntsville?
Something that I would change. There's, like, I think that we're at a point, and we've been at a point for years now, where Huntsville is just taking off. And this is where you can either lose your soul of your city and the heartbeat of your city, or you can like really like hug it out with like the people that have all the real estate and the money and the funds. This is an opportunity I hate to say it, but not be a sellout for like, you know what I mean? It just don't let the city go. Like, that's what I've always been kind of worried about. I was at Bigfoot Little Donuts this morning, and I love Brian that owns that place. He's a Grissom grad too. He left a contracting job to start a donut truck over 10 years ago, and then it went from that to an Airstream, and then now he's got 2 spots, right? But I was talking to Jeremy, and that's the manager there, and I told him I was going to be on this, and we were just talking about how cool where they're at right now. I forgot what that area is called, like the South Center or whatever. It is the coolest piece of real estate, I feel like, in Huntsville, because it's so locally driven. You have like Dostal, you have the awesome ladies at AM Collective have just moved in. There's a skate shop. There's 2 vinyl, I think, record stores. There's minifigs. It is the coolest place. And I feel like if you think about the guy who owns that real estate in Huntsville on the Parkway, probably could have made a ton of money off bringing other places in there, but they allowed small businesses to come in, and that's what's going to make this town keep the heartbeat, right? Is having opportunities for small businesses like that. Because if you go to other towns, Chicago, Baltimore, different places, they have little like unique local areas like that. And I feel like we're shifting we're at a point where we could kind of push people aside, and we just keep building big and bringing in chains that, 6 years down the road will be gone, another one will come in. But it's like, man, like these are opportunities that to give the locals, because or even people that have moved in that like call this place like they're a local now. But I hope that answered your question. But I was like, I felt like that was a good time to with the business leaders, and I think that they're trying their hardest to do a good job with that. I really, if anybody wants to go in and buy the old El Palacio, we can make a really cool place over there. I know it's going to probably be a big, tall building, but I feel like you could have a really cool, like, food truck alley, like small business incubator space there. And also maybe we can bring back the green or the beans and the rice on a school lunch tray, middle school.
It makes it taste so much better on that lunch tray. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was, but that's a great point that I hadn't thought about, man. They're just kind of keeping the soul of the city alive with those small businesses that kind of drive everything. That's what we're trying to do on this podcast is keep us all connected and growing and collaborating. And so we can work together on this. We'll get all the,
Yeah, absolutely.
put our powers together and work on that. Yeah, that is a cool area you're talking about. Chopper Time's over there. They've been there for a minute.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, some great folks over there. So you go visit that little strip mall over there and see some good people.
Yeah.
But so, man, as you for you as a business owner, what's kind of your pain point right now that's really keeping you kind of up at night?
Well, I work full time. I love my job that I work full time at Redstone Federal Credit Union. Right. Love my team. Love my boss. Like, just it's a great place, and I feel like I can still give back to the community there. It's a, start on the arsenal. But I think what keeps me up is the fact that I do work there full time, and then and then I'm a dad first, and so the piece that is really like I can't keep up with is my like social media presence, because it's one of those love-hate things where I'm like, I'm that weird kid where I'm like, I don't want to sell out and talk to myself on a camera, like I can't do that, because I'm like, I'm not cool, but I know you have to, like, to sell your stuff, and especially for a local place, you got to let them know that you're there, right? They got to let people know that I have 200 shirt designs, like, and I haven't really done the greatest job of that. But you don't want to oversell too. I always like, I don't want to be a used car salesman, right? Like, I'm doing stuff, and so I would say that's something that I'm struggling with. But I think I've reached out to a few people just to help me. It's like, hey, I'll pay just to post. If you post once a week, it's better than I'm doing now. Like or like twice a week. So kind of what's keeping me kind of like unmotivated is that side, because I really just want to create. Kind of mentioned earlier, I love creating different designs, and trying to find that right design too. That, like, you get new people we're a melting pot, right? So new people coming in, and then my the old locals, right, that have been here for a while or been here since the get-go. Like, do I do a fun Tasia shirt, right? Or about the putt golf? Like I have one ready, but like again, I'll wear it, right? You might.
I'll be me and you will have them on, and we'll just we'll be influencers, hashtag influencers.
Yes, yeah.
It'll grow to like 5 people. I mean, in
I feel
six to 7 years, I think 5 people will be wearing them.
Yeah. And okay, and this is going to get distracted. Like, you got influencers. What, like, do we get started on that? Like, what is the influencer? Like, like, are we influencing?
I don't know. I've heard that term and I've used it, and have no idea what it means.
Or like, there's digital. What do you call them? Digital. Like, I've seen stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. There's different names over the years.
Digital creators. Are you a digital creator?
What is it? Is that an influencer?
Same dude. I don't know.
I don't know. I it's one of those things where, like, I mean, I guess maybe I hope I don't know. I have a love-hate with that too, because I'm like, what is it? Do I need to influence? I don't think anybody needs to be influenced on me, like, maybe blow up your TV. John Prine, just blow it up,
There you go, blow up your TV. We'll see if there's some TVs blowing up. You'll have influenced. We'll get that started. That'd be your career.
If you're, that's my
so besides blowing up your TV, what's some of the best advice you've ever been given?
So that I've been given, is that right? I think it goes back to just, like, don't, like, it should be unique, right? Like, don't be a mold. And I give this advice too. Like, it's because I have moved around a lot. I know a lot of people, like, just from my job and from moving and from traveling around. Like, don't get in a box, right? Don't put yourself in a box, because if you're only if you like step in a box and you're like, this is what I'm going to be, right? Well, then you're like, there's so much out there. And there's so many other cool boxes, right? That you can kind of go and like introduce yourself with. And you're also putting walls up when you're in a box, right? So like don't put walls up. Like go meet, like be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? That's like, I feel like that's something that we like always try to talk to people about. Just even like here at the, I told you I was in the missional space, and we try to tell folks to do that. Like just get outside your comfort zone.
That's it. I mean, that's part of life. It's painful. I mean, it's tough. It's not what you want to do, but man, that's the only way to get growing. Like, you don't want to be Liam Neeson and be kind of every movie now is your family's been abducted and you got to go get. There's like 8 variations of that same movie out right now. He's in a box right now. Don't be
Yeah,
Liam
yeah.
Neeson. Yeah,
Somebody needs to social influence him.
he's got a special set of skills. I'm not sure if that's one of them, but so anyway, I'll get distracted too, man. We're a bad combo. So,
Yeah.
who is someone you'd like to thank for helping you become successful?
Oh man. Well, 100%. Like, my parents, they have like a closet full of my shirts. I thought I was selling a lot of shirts, but I think it was just my mom buying them. Gosh, I know, but like, they're good people, like great people. And they've supported me. And even when I had a type 1 diabetic shirt, like they were like, go for it. Um, kind of going back to that advice too, like fail, like you're going to fail. That's how you grow. Right. So, but people wise, I think I mentioned uh, I'd formed with a team LLC one time, and it's people I didn't really know at the time. I met them through when I was donating money to His Way, and they were like, you should grow this. Right. And they really helped it get to a certain point and grow it. And then again, I think, people that I look up to in the community. And like, I think being here at, like right now I'm at 2820 Missional Space, and it's called the Living Room. It's like a nonprofit. Like I love it here because it's just like people that volunteer their time to give back to the community that exists in the 805 area. Like they've influenced me too. There's a guy here. Right when I walked in, I saw Taylor Reed that works for. He helps with Shower Up. He does that on his own time, and it's now grown, and it's like hot showers for homeless. There's a guy that I've got to know. He's told a story. He's okay with this, but he's living under the Memorial Bridge for a while. Got to know him over here, and it's kind of just like let go of things and doing really well. And now he's like the first employee for the local like Huntsville Shower Up. His name's Andrew. He's an amazing guy. So those are people, Fran Fuller, like Manor House. Like these are the folks that I feel like that I really look up to and respect, and that have helped me get to where am. And it's just like a networking community of people. And also my wife, because she has to put up my tail. Like I'm constantly coming up with like shirt designs. Like if you look at my notes pages on my iPhone, like I have a Huntsville one, I have a random one, I have a kids one, I have an Alabama one, and they're just like I'm like, oh, that would be a great shirt. And she's like, gosh, like you have to hear this again. But she's probably my main fan, but also she'll tell me when that's not a great idea, and I'll listen to her. So that's a lot of people. I think you're asking one person.
No, I mean that's part of it. I think that's everyone's story who's had a successful business. Man, there's a village of people that help you get to where you've been.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's tough. So especially when one's in your house. Like my wife is a huge supporter of mine as well. Like not many wives want their husband to go train women all day long. It's probably not what they're looking for in a husband, but she's supported me 100% the whole way. So that's very important. If you're not getting the support at home, man, it's going to be tough to go out there and do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Shout out to the wives out there.
Yeah, so. Shout out. Yeah. And my wife's shout out to all the nurses. My wife's a nurse. So.
My wife's a nurse as well, man. Ginger's just married nurses. That's what we do.
Man. Yeah.
Because we need all kind of medical care later in life, I think. So
yeah.
We gotta.
Well, type 1 diabetic right here for 37 years. So I've got my built-in nurse. I'm like, hey, like I need my blood sugar is getting low. I need some sugar. I use that one.
Hey, that's how you got first date. I get it.
Yeah, I think I used that first date. I guess it worked.
Maybe that's your next shirt right there, I think. Your next diabetic shirt.
Type 1 diabetic shirts didn't work out too well.
That's your new line of shirts. You'll get those diabetic line going. So if someone was starting they would say, I'm going to start a business here in Huntsville, what advice would you give them?
I think kind of going, full circle on what we were just talking about, like network, right? Get outside your comfort zone, and kind of what you're trying to do. It sounds like just like, hey, like there's a diverse group of people doing things that you would think, hey, this person was like, well, I don't know what I would like, why would I need to know that person or whatever it may be? It's like, and we're like a cool ecosystem of like people here just trying to grow. Don't be afraid to fail, be unique, and just, and, use your like network of resources. And also, I know it sounds weird, but volunteer your time. Like it is, and it's a lot of times you go and you're like, I don't want to do this. And you're like, you go and then you're filled while you're helping volunteer someone. And while you're there, you're really getting to know people, right? That, and find needs in the community that you probably never even thought were there. So I think, years ago we were able to do but because of my time outside of my work, I got started working with like a lot of our unhoused community. One of them called it address deficient. so and so I thought, well, what if we did a shirt years ago, like where it's buy one, get one, kind of like the Tom's thing. And so I created a shirt. People bought shirts in the community, and we gave that same shirt to someone at First Stop in some of our homeless friends. And I only knew about that because I gave some of my time, not money really, gave some of my time to see people in the community. And now going down the road, especially on Governors, I'm like, oh man, like, there's Q. I know people's names and they're people, and they might not necessarily like be able to help your brand or whatever, but it'll truthfully like that. Getting to know that and getting to meet these folks, it helps you grow as a person and understand people.
Absolutely, man. That's kind of the secret sauce. If in my business for over the years, when I feel stuck and I don't know what else to do in my business, I'm gonna go serve somebody else. And man, it's crazy how that'll turn that around. I think if nothing else, it gets you out of that tunnel vision of the problems you're worried about. Open you up, go serve someone else. Man, it will turn back around you so quick and help you tenfold what you're doing for someone else. So if
Yeah,
you're out there, you're struggling with your business, go help someone. Report back later and tell us we're right.
absolutely. Well, there's a
But
guy right here where I'm probably gonna mess the name up, but like where I'm at, 2820 Governor's Drive, across the street from us, there's a guy that he's a barber, right? And his business is to have his last name's Pace because I work with his wife Tanika, but he basically gives free haircuts to some of our homeless friends, right? And I mean, the easy thing is to say, no, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Like, but he does that, and I'll tell people about what he does that can go get their haircut over here because he's giving back, and he probably doesn't know that, but that's just part of this ecosystem of people, and it's part of growth.
yeah, yeah. Open up your eyes, see what's going on, see who you can help. And there's tons of people that can need what you can do. I don't care what your skills are; they
Yeah,
need what you can do. So that's great
absolutely.
advice, man. I've followed that myself, and it's helpful. So, man, people, if they get one of your shirts, they want to. How they can get it locally first, and then how can they get them online?
Yeah. So do you say locally? So locally, we have Harrison Brothers downtown, Alabama Goods in Jones Valley. The Visitor Center actually carries our stuff too. They've been big supporters of us over the years, which is great. And then if you can also go to fowwowdesigns.com. We have shirts there. If you ever see a shirt too that says it's sold out, then just reach out to me because I may have it, or I can print it somewhere too. And I ship out. I've also have met people at Lowe's and different places to give shirts. Like that's kind of how I got started years ago. It's like I'd meet somebody at a gas station. They wanted a shirt and they were like, how much is it? And I was like, I mean, I don't know, like $10. That's why I got started. I didn't know what it was worth, and I realized, man, I'm probably losing money. And so I had to learn the business side of it. But that's how I got started. That's some more advice for people. Like, be able to give away, like, and not all your product, like donate stuff because it'll, if you see an opportunity, because it'll come back to help you.
Very cool. And then pay attention to that website when the new diabetic line comes out. You want to be the
Yeah.
first to get on that. Jump on that Funtasia. By the way, if you're listening, it's Funtasia, not
Yep.
Fantasia. Don't get that twisted right here. This is Funtasia. It's going to be a great design. I'm going to get one. We'll both have them. You'll see gingers all over America wearing this Funtasia one soon. So, man, thank you for what you're doing out there. Not only, providing cool designs for the city, but also giving back. I think when more business owners need to hear that, they need to do that. And that's how the city's going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. No, man, that's my pleasure. Like, it goes from Chick-fil-A there. My pleasure. I really enjoy it, and it's helped me grow as a professionally, personally. My girls come volunteer; they're growing too. Like, and it's just great people in this community. So I appreciate what you're doing to get this going. And look up the song. I'll send it to you. It's a good song. Eat a lot of peaches.
Cool. Hey, appreciate you guys tuning in this week. Appreciate Jonathan being here and sharing his story and his words of wisdom for you. Share this episode. Somebody needs to hear about this new diabetic line of t-shirts that's coming out and all the things he's doing out in the community. And just, hey, we're going to collaborate. Someday, somebody needs to work with Jonathan in this city. So spread the word. Keep building this show with us. And we're going to come back next week on the Huntsville Hustle podcast.